I'm planning some more content on the charismatics and the history of charismatics. So I've kind of started at the end with the hyper charismatics, but I want to move back to Asuza Street and the so-called revival in 1906, and then look at the second wave, and then the third wave with John Wimber and the Vineyard people, before getting into the hyper charismatics there. So these are quite interesting changes. At the same time, you've seen the church becoming very liberal in the mainstream, but then you see this strange experimentation, spiritual experimentation I would call it, after Asuza Street. When you get to John Wimber, and we're looking at the 60s and 70s, that's an interesting time period. So much social upheaval. Wimber himself apparently went to a fairly legitimate church, maybe, to start with, then found that he didn't want to engage with it so much because he felt it wasn't exciting perhaps enough. He was talking to his pastor and said, when do we get to do this stuff that Jesus did? And the pastor said, well, according to the story, well, we don't. And so John Wimber said, well, I gave up drugs for this. And so he set up the Vineyard Church, and there was a kind of a movement around that. And this was next sort of step in the charismatics, where they expanded what the Pentecostals had done after Asuza, where they were saying that tongues was the gift that should be active. Now the charismatics were saying that all these other gifts like healing, various signs and wonders, should be attending the church's work. And so people were excited by that, and I think you'll see that characteristic in charismatic churches that are still, I want to say, faithful to that concept, because they were drawn by excitement. They were drawn through from the 60s and 70s drugs scene, and it's very compelling for people who want to have that kind of high and that spiritual experience. And it seems to be a great strength in the charismatic groups, that they bring people in for experience, and that can be a very emotionally based thing. So yeah, I'm going to do, I don't dig deep, and these will be headlines for people, but I'll be digging deeper than what I present, but certainly I hope it'll be helpful, and I'll put it as part of a playlist on charismatic history. But looking forward to it. Thank you.